The spiral tool in Affinity Photo 2.3 can be used to create all kinds of unique designs, such as this. But also you can use this as a start point for a pattern design and some truly intense designs. So let's just remove that. How to start. Now, normally, right down the bottom here, the rectangle tool, you've got the spiral tool. I've got my spiral tool here because I use it a lot, so just click that. That's the key thing, the spiral tool. If you can't find it, you have to go to the View menu, and you've got options here to customize tools. Now with that, I can just hold down the Shift key and drag. The number of turns, I want a few more than that. So along here, you'll see all the options. And turns, I'm just going to push that up to about 12, 15, about that. Also, I want a square design, so click there. There's a square design. Now you might have to rotate it to get into this position. Sometimes you might find it's a diamond design. Also, I want this, counter semicircular. Makes even more intense design. Also stroke, I've got black, and also 2-point. You can vary that, of course, as well. Go for 4, 3, though if you push it too much, it'll just become basically impossible to see any lines. So now what I want is to duplicate this design. And I'm just going to move the layers out of the way and just going to rotate it, just 40, want it. Now sometimes always find that rotation doesn't always work. Always, if you're off screen, it just doesn't seem to appear. Hold down the Alt Option key, and again, there it is down there. It's always in the wrong position. And I want that to join. So I've just rotated it so I can now join this with this. So I'm just going to drag it along so it snaps like that. To get the snapping, perfect. Just go to View, and you've got snapping. So you've got options here, enable snapping, you've got snap to grid, etc., etc. So you should be able to snap it very quickly together. Now you're going to have a bit of a gap, unfortunately, but it doesn't look too bad when you work with this later, once you've done a few manipulations with a few filters. So with this design now, I can select both of those. And now if I go here, right click, and I can group them. So they're all grouped. So, and of course you can create more complex designs than this. Maybe try joining 3 or 4 or 5. I mean, you can do that. Perfectly reasonable. But with this group now, what I want to do is I want to rasterize it. So just go to Layer and down here to Rasterize. So it's rasterized. I can now apply filter effects. Generally, it should just, when you apply a filter effect, it will rasterize anyway. But I always like to just rasterize it into a pixel layer before I do anything. So filters, go down to Distort. Now you could use Deform. You could distort it to create some truly weird and wonderful designs. I'll just quickly show you something like that. Deform, add some pins, and then distort the design. You can see you can create this sort of design. Now what I want in this case is not that. But I want to show you can use a lot of other filters of distortions. But I want mirror. So mirror and number of mirrors. So I'm just going to increase that. And you can see as you do that, you get a result like that. Now, maybe you think, that's fine, that's what I want. But you can also, before you do anything else, you can turn this into a pattern and then use the mirror with that. Actually, let's just move this out of the way. It's getting a bit in the way. And now go to Layer and New Pattern Layer from Selection. And you can see now you've got this really intense design. And also what you can do, just select that pixel layer. You can make it not visible just by clicking here. But I prefer generally just to delete it. Just makes it easier. Just go down to delete and delete it. Now you've got this line here. Not ideal. Unfortunately, just can't get around that. But it does get lost when you actually apply the next filter. So again, you could go for filter, distort and deform, but I'm going to go with mirror. So with mirror, you can see straight away you've got this mirror effect. And number of mirrors, I can increase that. And you can see as you do that, you can create a variety of different designs. Now you might also notice another issue. So you want this to be seamless, just go to mirror, turn that on. I think sometimes most of the filters work best that way, but vary it, just try it. Filters, distort and mirror. Number of mirrors, you can increase that. And also you can change input, but I wouldn't change it. If you change from 0, sometimes it ends up resulting not so great. Again, it can sometimes be fine, But I've always found sometimes you end up with some gaps appearing. So I prefer personally just keep it 0. But number of mirrors, and you can then reposition this as well to create again different designs that way. So it's probably virtually impossible to say, yes, this is exactly the design you will get if you follow exactly these steps. So let's say you go for this, and I'm just going to go say for 8 and click apply. So you've got this pretty intense design, and you can resize it still. So you can resize this, you can see, but you make it too small, it ends up becoming sort of very hard to discern anything. But also what you can do is at this point, you can turn around and say, I don't want that to be a pattern anymore. So you can turn it into a pixel layer, simply just go layer and rasterize. You can still, of course, go and do repeat mirror if you want. Filter, repeat mirror. Now, sometimes once it gets to a certain point, it will not repeat again, unless you actually go to the filter and distort and apply it. Make certain you select the layer, that's a key thing. But also what you can do, go over here, select the move tool. So move tool selected, if you've got 2.3, obviously you need that for the spiral. So press return or enter on the keyboard, you'll get this panel pop up. And with this, you can duplicate this. Now you get a really intense design with this. So just do a couple of copies. Just by doing a couple, you can see straight away it's already starting to get a bit thicker the line. But also what you can do is you've got here rotation. Now you can just go, oh yeah, I'd go for 2. It becomes terrible, just basically black. Can't see much. But if you go for say 0.1, you can see what happens. You get this sort of design. 0.2, even there it becomes. So make it even smaller, 0.02. And you can see now, actually, unfortunately, it seems 0.5, probably about the, you can go for, yes, it's unfortunate. One of the things is it does not seem to actually allow you to go too low. 0.1 is the smallest you can go. Maybe number of copies is a bit too high. Okay, that's another possibility. Yes, that's one of the reasons. I was thinking that's a bit strange. I must admit, I did not realise that, and I will admit that the rotation does seem to have limits, 0.1, which is a pity. Why not 0.01? That seems a bit odd. However, so you've got that, and you can see, maybe go with 0.2 this time, or 0.3. Again, that pushes it too far. 0.2, I think, is going to probably be best. There you are. You've got a fairly intense design, and maybe even reduce the number of copies down a bit more, 5. Maybe go for something like 5 or 4. And then click OK. And there you have it. Super intense design, very quickly generated in Affinity Photo. Well, obviously, let's just go through that again quickly. Going to go here again to the spiral tool, maybe create a slight variation of this. So you've got this design, again, hold down the shift. That's the key thing. And also what you can do here is you can go up here. You've got 2, don't have to have 2, you could go 1.5, 3, but also you've got option here for pressure. So just click there and you can then modify this. So this will change the thickness of this line. So you might decide, let's push that up a bit so you can actually see it. So 4.5, you can see now you've got this thinness. Now you can do exactly the same as before. This time, go for 5, 6, 7, maybe go for 17. But you can see you create a very unusual spiral design this time. Well, as before, I want a square design. Now you could, of course, go for approach, maybe for a circular design, perfectly reasonable. But for this video, I'm going to go for just purely this one. So just click here. And I think maybe a few more actually. 18. Let's go for 18. Exactly the same as before. I can hold down the Alt Option key and duplicate that design. Now I want to join that, so let's hold down the Shift again and just rotate that around. So it's 90 degrees. So I can now fit these together and make certain I fit it together. It's a bit fiddly, but let's just quickly do it. Right. Rotate. Sometimes I get it right first time, and then other times I fiddle around with it for a bit. Okay, there it is. Knew I'd get it there somehow. Right. So there's the connection. Now sometimes you look at it, it might be slightly out. I don't know. Shouldn't be, but you could just always move it like that, so you make certain it seems to be slightly ajar there. But again, once you've turned it into a pixel layer, it's probably not so bad. You can still manipulate this. You might decide, oh, you know what, I don't particularly like that. I can then change it again, go to the spiral tool, click here, click down here, and you can still continue to modify it. Now, it will change for both of them, so you can see you can make it very dark in the center. Click there, maybe make it slightly darker there, and you can just vary it to create a load of different designs. Now, exactly the same as before, you can now select both, right-click, and group. So all grouped into one design, and now you can rasterize it. So go to the Move tool and Layer, and go down here to Rasterize. So rasterized, I can now turn it into a pattern layer. Now, of course, as mentioned before, you can always go to Filters, Distort, apply all the various mirror effects just with this. Pretty reasonable. But I want to turn it into a pattern layer. So again, Layer, and down to New Pattern Layer from Selection. And you can see now you've got this design. So slightly more intense design, a bit thinner in that central bit there. Right, just delete that again. Once that's deleted, you can then manipulate this pattern. Make sense. You select it and you can resize it. You, of course, can crunch it in like that, or stretch it, or maybe rotate it. You might decide, you know what, that's a nicer design for what you want. And again, resize it. Once you're happy with your pattern layer like that, you can always then go again, Layer, and rasterize. So it's all rasterized into one complete layer, pixel layer, Filters, and down to Distort and Mirror. And you can see now, because I've got a slight angle to it, it creates obviously a different result. So that's why it's virtually impossible to say exactly that you'll get exactly the same design. And you can see you should change it. You can create all kinds of unique designs this way. Maybe like that. Again, 8. 8 always seems to be the nicer number. If you put it to 5 or 6, 7, I don't know. But 8 seems to work best, for me anyway. And again, click Apply. Well, exactly the same as before. Make sure you've got the Move tool selected. Press Return. And with that, you can now apply this rotation. Again, make certain you don't go for number copies more than about, I think 11 was a bit too much. I think I was a bit overzealous with that number. So maybe 2. It's very easy when you're just moving it just slightly, just to go too far. 4 or 5 probably works best. And also rotation. Again, I didn't realise it was a limit of 0.1. So 0.1, again, it would be nice if it was 0.05 or 0.01. But you can see then you get this sort of design. Maybe go for 0.2. Let's just try 0.2. We'll get like that. Again, this is the trouble. If you push it too far, it just becomes solid black. And click OK. So there you have it. A very quick design, which again, you can select all of those. Select them all. Right click, and you can group. And if you want, you can always manipulate that as well. You can go to Layer, and again, rasterize that all into one. And Filter, and again, Distort, and maybe Mirror. And then you can apply a mirror effect to this as well. So you can create a variety of different designs by just changing that as well. Maybe go with that, or that. Or change the number of mirrors to 8 again, which always seems to be really intense number there. Hope you found this tutorial of interest. Any questions, please let me know in the comments below. Always great to hear from you. Thank you much.